The crystal flute shattered against the wall, silencing the room. Isabella Thornton stood frozen, champagne dripping from her trembling hand, as her husband's words hung in the air like a death sentence. "I want a divorce." In an instant, her carefully constructed world imploded, leaving her adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Will she succumb to the weight of her past, or will she emerge as the architect of her own extraordinary future? The soft glow of chandeliers illuminated the private dining room of Lakeside, one of Chicago's most exclusive restaurants. Michael Thornton, a man in his early 50s with salt and pepper hair and a tailored navy suit, stood at the head of the long table, raising a crystal flute of champagne. His eyes, a steely blue, swept across the faces of his guests, a mix of family members, close friends, and esteemed colleagues. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," Michael began, his voice carrying the confidence of a man accustomed to commanding attention. "As you know, we're here to celebrate my recent promotion to Senior Vice President at Coleman & Associates." A smattering of applause filled the room. Michael's gaze lingered on his wife, Isabella, seated to his right. At 48, she was still strikingly beautiful, her dark hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She offered a small smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. As the first course arrived, a delicate lobster bisque, the conversation around the table flowed easily. Talk of Michael's accomplishments at the law firm mingled with discussions of summer vacation plans and the latest city gossip. Yet beneath the veneer of convivial chatter, an undercurrent of tension simmered between Michael and Isabella. Isabella engaged in polite conversation with Michael's colleague, Dr. James Farrow, seated to her right. "And how is your daughter enjoying her first year at Northwestern?" she asked, her voice warm and genuinely interested. As James launched into a proud father's monologue about his daughter's academic achievements, Isabella felt Michael's eyes on her. She turned slightly, meeting his gaze. For a moment, she saw something flicker in his expression, a mix of irritation and something else she couldn't quite place. Guilt, perhaps? The main course arrived, perfectly seared filet mignon for most, with a few plates of herb-crusted salmon. The aroma of truffle and rosemary filled the air. As the waiter refilled wine glasses, Michael stood once again, tapping his knife against his glass for attention. "Before we dive into this magnificent meal," he said, his voice carrying a note of forced joviality, "I have another announcement to make." Isabella felt a chill run down her spine. She set down her fork, her appetite suddenly vanishing. Something in Michael's tone, in the set of his shoulders, told her that whatever was coming next would change everything. Michael cleared his throat, his eyes avoiding Isabella's. "As some of you may have noticed, Isabella and I have been struggling lately." He paused, and the room fell into a tense silence. "After much consideration, I've decided that it's time for us to part ways. I'm filing for divorce." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Isabella felt as if the floor had dropped out from beneath her. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles turning white. Around her, she could hear the shocked gasps and murmurs of their guests, but they seemed distant, as if coming from another room. In that moment, as all eyes turned to her, waiting for her reaction, Isabella made a choice. She wouldn't give Michael the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. With a deep breath, she straightened her back, lifted her chin, and met the stares of their guests with a calm dignity that belied the storm raging within her. The elegant dinner, meant to be a celebration, had become the stage for the unraveling of a marriage. As the shocked silence stretched on, Isabella realized that this was just the beginning of a journey she never expected to take, one that would test her strength, resilience, and ability to rebuild her life from the ashes of her shattered marriage. The silence that followed Michael's announcement was deafening. It stretched on for what felt like an eternity, broken only by the soft clink of a fork slipping from someone's grasp and clattering against a china plate. All eyes in the room darted between Michael, still standing with an air of defiance, and Isabella, seated rigid in her chair, her face a mask of composure. It was Isabella who finally broke the silence. "Well," she said, her voice steady and clear, "I suppose I should thank you for making this public announcement, Michael. It saves me the trouble of having to inform our friends and family individually." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Michael's triumphant expression faltered, clearly thrown off by Isabella's calm demeanor. He had expected tears, perhaps a scene, anything but this dignified response. Isabella stood slowly, smoothing the fabric of her elegant black dress. "I apologize to all of you for having to witness this spectacle," she addressed the guests, her voice tinged with a hint of dry humor. "I'm sure this isn't quite the dinner party you had in mind when you accepted the invitation." Michael, recovering from his initial shock, interjected, "Isabella, don't you think we should discuss this in private?" His voice held a note of warning, but Isabella merely raised an eyebrow at him. "Discuss what exactly?" she asked coolly. "You've made your decision, and you've chosen to announce it here, in front of everyone we know. I think we're well past the point of private discussions, don't you?" The guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to leave or stay. Michael's sister Amanda half rose from her chair, her face a picture of concern. "Michael, what on earth are you thinking? This isn't like you at all." Michael's face flushed red. "This isn't anyone else's business," he snapped, his composure cracking. "Isabella and I have been having problems for a long time. This is for the best." Isabella let out a soft, humorless laugh. "Problems? Is that what we're calling your late nights at the office and mysterious weekend work trips now?" A ripple of whispers swept through the room. Michael's eyes widened, a flash of panic crossing his face. "That's enough, Isabella," he hissed. But Isabella wasn't finished. She turned to face the guests, her chin held high. "I want you all to know that while this announcement comes as a shock to me, I won't be playing the role of the devastated, helpless wife. Michael has made his choice, and now I'll make mine. I choose to move forward with my life, with dignity and self-respect." She picked up her glass of wine and raised it in a mock toast. "To new beginnings," she said, her voice carrying a strength that surprised even her. Then, with deliberate slowness, she set the glass down untouched and walked towards the exit. As she reached the door, she turned back one last time. "Michael, I'll have my lawyer contact yours in the morning. Enjoy your dinner, everyone. I'm sure the dessert will be spectacular. It usually is here at Lakeside." With that, Isabella walked out of the private dining room, leaving behind a stunned silence. As the door closed behind her, she heard the explosion of voices, some angry, some concerned, all shocked, rise up from the room she had just left. In the quiet hallway of the restaurant, Isabella leaned against the wall for a moment, closing her eyes and taking a deep breath. The weight of what had just happened threatened to crash down on her, but she pushed it aside. There would be time for tears and anger later. For now, she needed to hold on to the strength she had found in that room. As she made her way through the main dining area of the restaurant, heads turned to watch her pass. She realized that her calm exit must have been a stark contrast to the commotion they could surely hear from the private room. Holding her head high, Isabella stepped out into the cool Chicago night. Standing on the sidewalk, she looked up at the twinkling city lights. The life she had known was over, shattered in the space of a few minutes. But as the first hints of shock began to wear off, Isabella felt something unexpected stirring within her, a sense of possibility, of freedom. Whatever came next, she would face it on her own terms. The morning after the disastrous dinner party dawned gray and drizzly, matching Isabella's mood as she sat at her kitchen table, nursing a cup of strong coffee. The events of the previous night felt surreal, like a bad dream she couldn't quite shake off. But the constant buzzing of her phone, filled with messages from concerned friends and family, was a stark reminder of the new reality she faced. A knock at the door startled her out of her reverie. Isabella hesitated, not sure if she was ready to face anyone yet. But when the knock came again, more insistent this time, she sighed and went to answer it. Sarah, her best friend of 20 years, stood on the doorstep, a determined look on her face and a bag of groceries in her arms. "I thought you might need some reinforcements," she said, pushing past Isabella into the house. Isabella felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "Sarah, you didn't have to." "Of course I did." Sarah cut her off, already busy unpacking the groceries in the kitchen. "That's what friends are for. Now sit down and tell me everything." Over the next hour, Isabella recounted the events of the dinner party, her voice occasionally breaking as the full impact of what had happened began to sink in. Sarah listened attentively, her face a mix of sympathy and barely contained anger. "That bastard," Sarah muttered when Isabella finished. "To humiliate you like that in public. I always knew he was selfish, but this is a new low." Isabella nodded, wiping away a stray tear. I just keep wondering how I didn't see it coming. Were there signs I missed? Should I have known? Sarah reached across the table, squeezing Isabella's hand. Hey, none of this is your fault. Michael made his choices. Now it's time for you to make yours. As the day wore on, Isabella found herself grateful for Sarah's presence. Her friend fielded calls, screened visitors, and provided a steady stream of support and practical advice. By the afternoon, Isabella had contacted a divorce lawyer and made an appointment for the following day. You should call your sister, Sarah suggested as they sat on the couch, empty mugs of tea on the coffee table in front of them. Laura's been trying to reach you all day. Isabella hesitated, then nodded. She dialed her sister's number, bracing herself for the conversation ahead. Izzy. Laura's voice came through, filled with concern. Are you okay? I've been so worried. As Isabella filled her sister in on the situation, she felt a small knot of tension in her chest begin to loosen. Laura's unwavering support and practical outlook were exactly what she needed. Listen, Laura said firmly. You're not alone in this. I'm booking a flight to Chicago right now. We'll get through this together, okay? By the time Isabella hung up, she felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since Michael's announcement. She had a support system, friends and family who believed in her, who would stand by her side as she navigated this unexpected chapter of her life. As the day drew to a close, Sarah prepared to leave, extracting a promise from Isabella to call if she needed anything. Standing in the doorway, Sarah pulled her friend into a tight hug. You're stronger than you know, Izzy, she whispered. You're going to get through this, and you're going to come out even better on the other side. I believe in you. After Sarah left, Isabella wandered through the house she had shared with Michael for so many years. Every room held memories, some good, some bad, all now tinged with a bittersweet ache. But as she looked around, she realized something. This house, this life, had been largely shaped by Michael's preferences, Michael's career, Michael's desires. Standing in the middle of the living room, Isabella made a decision. It was time to figure out who she was outside of her marriage, what she wanted for herself. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in years, it was hers to choose. With a deep breath, Isabella squared her shoulders. Tomorrow would bring challenges, but she was ready to face them. The first step of her new journey awaited. The following weeks were a blur of meetings with lawyers, financial advisors, and well-meaning friends offering support. Isabella found herself navigating a world she had never expected to enter, the complex, often bitter landscape of divorce proceedings. As she sat in her lawyer's office, poring over financial documents, a stark reality began to emerge. Michael had been more than just emotionally distant in recent years. He had been systematically separating their finances, preparing for this moment. I'm sorry, Mrs. Thornton, her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel, said gently. But it appears your husband has been moving significant funds into accounts solely in his name for the past 3 years. Isabella felt a fresh wave of betrayal wash over her. How could I have been so blind? She murmured, more to herself than to Rachel. Rachel leaned forward, her expression sympathetic but determined. Don't blame yourself. Men like your husband are expert manipulators, but now that we know, we can fight back. Are you ready for that? Isabella took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. Yes, she said firmly. I'm done being a victim. What do we do next? As they outlined their strategy, Isabella felt a mix of emotions, anger at Michael's deception, fear of the unknown future, but also a growing sense of empowerment. For the first time in years, she was taking control of her own life. Later that evening, as Isabella nursed a glass of wine on her patio, her phone buzzed with a text from Michael. We need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow? Isabella stared at the message, her finger hovering over the reply button. Part of her wanted to ignore him, to cut all ties and move forward, but she knew that wasn't realistic. With a sigh, she typed out a response. Fine. Coffee shop on Michigan Ave. 2 p.m. The next day, Isabella arrived at the cafe early, steeling herself for the confrontation ahead. When Michael walked in, she was struck by how different he looked. Gone was the confident swagger, replaced by a nervous energy she had never seen in him before. Isabella, he began as he sat down, I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it, Michael. She cut him off, her voice low but intense. You didn't just betray our marriage. You've been planning this for years, hiding money, lying to my face. Why? Was I really so terrible to live with? Michael had the grace to look ashamed. It wasn't you, Izzy. It was me. I got scared. Scared of growing old, of missing out on something. I thought I needed more excitement, more challenge in my life. Isabella laughed bitterly. Well, congratulations. You've certainly got a challenge now. I hope it was worth throwing away 20 years of marriage. As their conversation continued, Isabella realized something profound. The man sitting across from her, the man she had loved and built a life with, was a stranger to her now. And perhaps he always had been. I want you to know, Michael said as they prepared to leave, that I never meant to hurt you like this. Isabella stood, gathering her purse. But you did hurt me, Michael. And now we both have to live with the consequences of your choices. As she walked away, leaving Michael staring after her, Isabella felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The conversation had been painful, but necessary. She had faced her fears, confronted the man who had shattered her world, and come out stronger. The path ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time since that fateful dinner party, Isabella felt truly ready to face it. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was beginning to see the possibility of thriving. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, Isabella found herself with an abundance of one thing she'd never had much of before: time. The hours she had once spent managing Michael's social calendar, attending law firm events, and maintaining their image as the perfect power couple now stretched before her, empty and daunting. One rainy afternoon, as she absent-mindedly flipped through a home design magazine, Isabella's eye caught on a vibrant, eclectic living room spread. She found herself studying the details, admiring the bold color choices and unique furniture arrangements. Without realizing it, she began sketching her own version of the room in the margins of the magazine. I didn't know you could draw. Sarah's voice startled her. Her friend had let herself in, arms laden with takeout bags. Isabella looked down at her sketch, surprised by how natural it had felt. Neither did I, really. I used to love interior design back in college. I'd forgotten all about it. Sarah peered over her shoulder, eyebrows raised in appreciation. This is really good, Izzy. You've got a talent here. As they ate dinner, the conversation kept circling back to Isabella's rediscovered passion. You know, Sarah mused, you could do something with this. Take some classes, maybe start a small business doing home makeovers. Isabella laughed, but the idea took root in her mind. Why not? She had always had an eye for design, and the thought of creating beautiful spaces for others filled her with an excitement she hadn't felt in years. Over the next few weeks, Isabella threw herself into researching interior design courses and local home renovation projects. She signed up for online classes, joined design forums, and started building a portfolio of ideas. One evening, as she was engrossed in a virtual room design program on her computer, her phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Lawyers finalized the asset division. Meeting tomorrow to sign papers. Are you sure about this? Isabella stared at the message, a complex mix of emotions washing over her. Part of her still mourned the end of her marriage, the loss of the future she had once envisioned. But as she looked around at the mood boards and color swatches scattered across her desk, she realized something profound. She was no longer just Michael Thornton's wife. She was Isabella, rediscovering her passions, her strengths, her sense of self. With steady fingers, she typed her reply. Yes, I'm sure. See you tomorrow. The next day, as Isabella sat across from Michael in the lawyer's office, pen poised over the final divorce papers, she felt a surprising sense of calm. This wasn't an ending, she realized. It was a beginning. Before we sign, Michael said, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, I just want to say, I'm sorry, Isabella, for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. Isabella looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time in years. She saw the regret in his eyes, the slump of his shoulders, and she felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, just a gentle sadness for what had been lost. I forgive you, Michael, she said softly. Not for you, but for me. I need to let go of this anger to move forward. With that, she signed her name on the dotted line, closing one chapter of her life and opening another. As she left the office, divorce papers tucked into her bag, Isabella felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The future stretched out before her, uncertain but full of possibility. She had rediscovered her passion, her strength, and most importantly, herself. Walking down Michigan Avenue, Isabella's eye caught on a "For Lease" sign in the window of a small storefront. She paused, an idea forming in her mind. With a smile, she pulled out her phone and dialed Sarah's number. "Hey," she said when her friend answered. "How do you feel about helping me start a business?" 6 months after signing the divorce papers, Isabella stood in the center of her newly leased storefront, surrounded by paint swatches, fabric samples, and the controlled chaos of a business in the making. Isabella's interiors was slowly coming to life, transforming from a dream into reality. Sarah, who had become not just a friend but a business partner, burst through the door, coffee cups in hand, and excitement in her eyes. "Izzy! You won't believe who I just ran into at the coffee shop. Remember James Farrow, from Michael's old firm?" Isabella nodded, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Of course. What about him?" "Well," Sarah grinned, "he's renovating his entire house, and he's looking for a designer. I may have mentioned our new venture, and he's interested in meeting with you." Isabella's heart raced. This could be their first big client, a chance to prove themselves in Chicago's competitive design world. "That's amazing, Sarah. Did you set up a meeting?" As they discussed the potential project, Isabella felt a surge of gratitude for her friend. Sarah had been there through the darkest days of her divorce, and now she was here, helping to build something new and exciting. The next day, Isabella met James for lunch at a trendy bistro downtown. As they discussed his renovation plans, she found herself slipping easily into the role of confident designer, presenting ideas and sketching concepts on a napkin. "I have to admit," James said as their meeting wound down, "I was a bit hesitant about hiring you, given your history with Michael. But Isabella, your ideas are fantastic. I'd be a fool not to work with you." Isabella felt a moment of tension at the mention of Michael's name, but it passed quickly. "Thank you, James. I promise you won't regret giving us this opportunity." As she left the restaurant, contract in hand, Isabella felt a newfound confidence coursing through her veins. She wasn't just Michael's ex-wife anymore. She was a business owner, a designer, a woman coming into her own. Over the next few months, Isabella's interiors began to make a name for itself in Chicago's design circles. The Farrow project led to referrals, and soon Isabella and Sarah found themselves juggling multiple clients, each job more exciting than the last. One evening, as they celebrated the successful completion of their latest project, Sarah raised her glass in a toast. "To new beginnings," she said, her eyes shining with pride and affection. "And to you, Izzy. You've come so far." Isabella clinked her glass against Sarah's, feeling a wave of emotion wash over her. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said softly. "Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." As they sipped their wine, Isabella's phone buzzed with a text. It was from Michael. "Heard about your new business. Congratulations. You always had great taste. Wishing you all the best." Isabella stared at the message, surprised by the lack of bitterness she felt. Instead, there was a sense of closure, of a chapter truly ending and a new one beginning. "Everything okay?" Sarah asked, noticing her friend's distraction. Isabella smiled, putting her phone away. "Yeah, everything's perfect, actually. I just realized I'm happy, truly, genuinely happy." As they continued their celebration, Isabella found her mind wandering to the future. There were challenges ahead, certainly. Growing a business wasn't easy, and there would be setbacks along the way. But for the first time in years, she felt ready to face whatever came her way. The Isabella who had stood shocked and humiliated in that restaurant so many months ago was gone. In her place was a woman who had rediscovered her passion, rebuilt her life, and reclaimed her sense of self. As the Chicago skyline glittered outside the window, Isabella raised her glass once more. "To the future," she said, her voice strong and clear. "And to becoming the women we were always meant to be?" Sarah grinned, clinking her glass against Isabella's. "I'll drink to that." Together, they looked out at the city, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. The road hadn't been easy, But Isabella knew now that the most beautiful transformations often came from the most challenging circumstances. Her new beginning was just getting started, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead. A year had passed since Isabella launched her interior design business, and life had settled into a new, exciting rhythm. Isabella's Interiors had gained a reputation for innovative designs and personalized service, attracting a steady stream of high-profile clients. On a crisp autumn morning, Isabella found herself in Lincoln Park, taking a rare moment of solitude to clear her head before a big client meeting. The fallen leaves crunched underfoot as she walked, lost in thought about her latest project. "Isabella?" a familiar voice called out, startling her from her reverie. She turned to see Michael standing a few feet away, looking different from when she'd last seen him. Leaner, with a touch of gray at his temples, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, rather than his once ubiquitous suits. For a moment, they both froze, unsure of how to react. It had been over a year since their last encounter, and neither had expected to see the other here. Michael broke the silence first. "It's good to see you," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and warmth. Isabella found herself nodding, a small smile forming despite her initial shock. "You too, Michael. How have you been?" As they fell into step together, walking slowly through the park, an unexpected ease settled between them. Michael spoke of his new focus on pro bono work, helping low-income families navigate the legal system. Isabella shared stories of her burgeoning design career. "I saw the write-up about your business in the Tribune," Michael said, a note of pride in his voice. "You've done amazingly well, Isabella. I always knew you had it in you." Isabella raised an eyebrow. "Did you? I'm not sure I knew it myself back then." Michael's face softened with regret. "I'm sorry for that. For a lot of things, actually." They paused by a small pond, watching as a family of ducks glided across the water. Isabella turned to study Michael's profile, noting the changes in him, not just physical, but a calmness, a humility that hadn't been there before. "I'm sorry too," she said softly. "Not for the divorce. That was the right decision. But I'm sorry we let things get so bad between us before we faced the truth." Michael nodded, meeting her gaze. "We've both changed a lot, haven't we?" "We have," Isabella agreed. "And I think that's a good thing." As they parted ways at the park exit, there was a moment of awkwardness. How does one say goodbye to an ex-spouse who was once the center of your world? But then Isabella surprised them both by reaching out and giving Michael a quick, light hug. "Take care of yourself, Michael," she said. He smiled, a genuine, warm expression that reached his eyes. "You too, Isabella. Be happy. You deserve it." As Isabella walked away, she felt a sense of closure she hadn't realized she was missing. The anger and hurt that had colored their last encounters had faded, replaced by a gentle acceptance of the past and hope for the future. She pulled out her phone to call Sarah, eager to share this unexpected moment of peace. As she dialed, Isabella realized that this encounter with Michael hadn't shaken her or set her back. Instead, it had reaffirmed how far she'd come and how much she'd grown. The path ahead was her own, shaped by her choices and dreams. And for the first time since her divorce, Isabella felt truly, completely free to embrace whatever the future might hold. The success of Isabella's Interiors had exceeded all expectations, and 2 years after its launch, Isabella found herself facing an exciting but daunting proposition. A high-end hotel chain had approached her about designing the interiors for their new boutique hotel in Paris. "Paris, Izzy!" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement as they discussed the offer over lunch. "This could be huge for us. It's a chance to take the business international." Isabella nodded, her mind racing with possibilities and concerns. "It's an amazing opportunity," she agreed. "But it would mean spending months in Paris, maybe even opening a branch there if things go well. It's a big step." Sarah reached across the table, squeezing her friend's hand. "Hey, if anyone can handle it, it's you. Look how far you've come already." As Isabella mulled over the decision in the following days, she found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. The painful end of her marriage, the struggle to rediscover herself, the leap of faith in starting her own business. Each challenge had made her stronger, more resilient. One evening, as she sat in her home office surrounded by sketches and fabric samples, Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister Laura. "Hey sis, heard about the Paris offer. Have you decided yet? Remember, you've always loved French design." Isabella smiled, remembering how she used to pore over French interior design magazines, dreaming of visiting the grand apartments of Paris. It was a passion she'd set aside during her marriage, but one that had reignited with her new career. With sudden clarity, Isabella realized she had already made her decision. She was ready for this new adventure, ready to push herself and her business to new heights. The next morning, she called the hotel executives and accepted their offer. The following weeks were a whirlwind of preparation, hiring additional staff to manage the Chicago office, arranging accommodation in Paris, and countless meetings to plan the project. The night before her flight to Paris, Isabella hosted a small gathering at her home. Sarah, Laura, and a few close friends gathered to wish her luck on her new venture. As Isabella looked around at the faces of her loved ones, she felt a surge of gratitude. These were the people who had supported her through the darkest times, who had believed in her even when she doubted herself. "I couldn't have done any of this without you," she said, raising her glass in a toast. To friendship, to family, and to new adventures. The next day, as Isabella boarded her flight to Paris, she felt a mix of excitement and nerves. This was more than just a business trip. It was the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one she had never imagined possible just a few years ago. As the plane took off, Isabella gazed out the window at the Chicago skyline receding below. She thought about the woman she had been when she first arrived in this city as Michael's young wife, and the woman she was now, confident, successful, and eager to embrace new challenges. The journey hadn't been easy, but every setback, every moment of doubt had led her to this point. As the plane soared over Lake Michigan, Isabella smiled to herself. Paris awaited, and with it, a world of new possibilities. She pulled out her sketchbook, already brimming with ideas for the hotel project. As she began to draw, adding splashes of color and jotting down notes in the margins, Isabella felt a familiar thrill of creativity. This was who she was meant to be. Not just Michael Thornton's ex-wife, but Isabella Thompson, international designer, entrepreneur, and author of her own story. As the Atlantic Ocean stretched out beneath the plane, Isabella closed her eyes, allowing herself to dream of the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she had the strength and the support to face them. Paris was just the beginning. The world was open to her now, full of opportunities she had once only dreamed of. And Isabella was ready to seize every one of them. The Parisian sun streamed through the tall windows of Isabella's rented apartment, casting a warm glow over the sketches and fabric samples strewn across her makeshift workspace. 3 months into her stay in the City of Light, Isabella found herself falling in love, not with a person, but with the vibrant energy and timeless beauty of Paris itself. The hotel project was progressing well, with the French team responding enthusiastically to her fresh transatlantic perspective. But it was the city that truly captured Isabella's heart and reignited her creativity in ways she hadn't anticipated. One crisp autumn morning, as Isabella sipped her café au lait at a corner bistro, her phone buzzed with a video call from Sarah. "Bonjour, madame." Sarah's grinning face filled the screen. "How's our Parisian designer extraordinaire doing?" Isabella laughed, angling her phone to show Sarah the charming street scene around her. "It's incredible, Sarah. I feel like I'm rediscovering my passion for design all over again. There's inspiration everywhere I look." As they chatted, catching up on business matters and personal news, Isabella felt a familiar pang of homesickness, tempered by the excitement of her new experiences. "Oh, I almost forgot," Sarah said, her tone turning slightly hesitant. "I ran into Michael the other day. He asked about you." Isabella paused, surprised by the lack of emotion she felt at the mention of her ex-husband's name. "Oh? How is he?" "He seemed good. He's doing a lot of work with a children's rights organization now. He mentioned that he's glad you're doing so well in Paris." Isabella nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "That's nice of him. I'm glad he's found something meaningful too." As she ended the call with Sarah, Isabella found herself reflecting on how much had changed. The pain and bitterness of her divorce felt like a distant memory now, replaced by a sense of gratitude for the journey that had led her here. Later that day, as Isabella walked along the Seine, sketching ideas for the hotel's riverside bar, she had an epiphany. Her time in Paris wasn't just about this one project. It was about expanding her vision, both for her business and for herself. With sudden clarity, Isabella saw the possibility of a future split between Chicago and Paris, bringing a touch of Parisian flair to her American designs and infusing her French projects with the bold energy of Chicago. Energized by this new vision, Isabella spent the next few weeks not only working on the hotel project, but also networking with local designers and exploring the possibility of a more permanent presence in Paris. As her time in the city drew to a close, Isabella realized that she was returning to Chicago a changed woman. Paris had rekindled her passion, challenged her creatively, and shown her that there were still so many possibilities to explore. On her last night in Paris, Isabella stood on the balcony of her rented apartment, gazing out at the glittering Eiffel Tower. She thought about the frightened, heartbroken woman she had been just a few years ago, and marveled at the journey that had brought her here. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Safe travels tomorrow. Chicago's not as glamorous as Paris, but we can't wait to have you back." Isabella smiled, typing out her reply. "Paris has been amazing, but I'm ready to come home. Get ready, though. I'm coming back with big plans." As she turned back to her packed suitcases, Isabella felt a sense of excitement for what lay ahead. She had come to Paris for a project, but she was leaving with so much more: new inspirations, new confidence, and a broader vision for her future. The journey that had begun with the painful end of her marriage had led her here, to this moment of clarity and purpose. As Isabella took one last look at the Parisian skyline, she felt profoundly grateful for every step of that journey, even the painful ones. Tomorrow she would return to Chicago, to the business she had built, and the friends who had supported her. But she would carry a piece of Paris with her. Not just in her designs, but in her heart. A reminder that life's greatest adventures often begin when we're brave enough to embrace change. Isabella's return to Chicago was a whirlwind of activity. Armed with fresh inspiration and ambitious plans, she dove headfirst into expanding Isabella's interiors, to include a French-inspired line. The fusion of Parisian elegance with Chicago's bold, modern aesthetic quickly caught the attention of clients and design magazines alike. 6 months after her return, Isabella found herself in a sleek downtown office, pitching her vision for a transatlantic design collaboration to a group of investors. As she confidently presented her ideas, showcasing how she planned to bridge the design sensibilities of two continents, Isabella caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window. The woman staring back at her exuded a quiet confidence and passion that would have been unrecognizable to her former self. "Ms. Thompson," one of the investors spoke up as she concluded her presentation, "your vision is impressive. But managing operations in 2 countries is no small feat. Are you prepared for the challenges this will bring?" Isabella smiled, thinking of all the obstacles she had overcome in the past few years. "Challenges are what brought me here," she replied. "They're what pushed me to rediscover my passion and build this business. I'm not just prepared for the challenges, I'm looking forward to them." Her words seemed to resonate with the room. By the end of the meeting, Isabella had secured the funding she needed to open a Paris office and launch her transatlantic design line. As she left the building, feeling a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation, her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Well, how did it go?" Isabella grinned, quickly typing back, "We did it. Get ready for Isabella's Interiors, Paris edition." That evening, as Isabella celebrated with Sarah and a small group of friends, she found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The pain of her divorce, once so all-consuming, had faded into a distant memory. In its place was a sense of gratitude for the growth and opportunities that had emerged from that difficult time. "A toast," Sarah announced, raising her glass. To Isabella, who turned heartbreak into a transatlantic design empire. "You're an inspiration, Izzy." As their glasses clinked together, Isabella felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She looked around at the faces of her friends, the people who had supported her through her darkest days and celebrated her triumphs. "To all of you," she said softly, "I couldn't have done any of this without you." The next few months were a blur of activity as Isabella worked to set up her Paris office and launch her new design line. She found herself splitting her time between Chicago and Paris, relishing the creative energy that came from immersing herself in both worlds. One crisp autumn day, as Isabella strolled through a Parisian flea market in search of unique pieces for a client, her phone rang. It was Michael. "Isabella," he said, his voice warm but hesitant. I hope I'm not interrupting. I saw the feature on your new Paris venture in the design magazine. I wanted to say congratulations. What you've accomplished, it's truly remarkable. Isabella felt a moment of surprise, followed by a gentle warmth. Thank you, Michael. That means a lot. There was a pause, and then Michael continued. I know it's been a long road, but I want you to know. I'm really happy for you, Isabella. You found your path, and you're shining. As they exchanged a few more pleasantries before ending the call, Isabella realized something profound. The conversation hadn't stirred up old hurts or regrets. Instead, it felt like the final piece of a puzzle falling into place, a closing of one chapter, and the full embrace of the next. Standing in the heart of Paris, surrounded by the beauty and history that had rekindled her passion, Isabella felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had not only survived the end of her marriage, but had thrived, creating a life more fulfilling than she had ever imagined possible. With a smile, Isabella turned her attention back to the flea market, her mind already brimming with ideas for her next design project. The future stretched out before her, full of possibilities, and she was ready to embrace every one of them. 5 years had passed since the night that changed everything. Isabella, now a renowned international designer, stood at the podium of a prestigious design conference in New York City. As she looked out over the sea of faces, aspiring designers, industry veterans, and media representatives, she felt a moment of surreal gratitude for the journey that had brought her here. Success, Isabella began, her voice strong and clear, is not a destination. It's a journey, often with unexpected detours and challenges that seem insurmountable at the time. But it's these very challenges that shape us, that push us to become versions of ourselves we never thought possible. As she shared her story, from the painful public divorce to building her business from the ground up to expanding internationally, Isabella saw heads nodding, eyes glistening with tears and recognition. Her tale of resilience and reinvention resonated deeply with the audience. The hardest lesson I learned, she continued, was that the end of one dream can be the beginning of something even greater. It's okay to mourn what you've lost, but don't let it blind you to the possibilities that lie ahead. After her speech, as Isabella mingled with attendees at the reception, she was approached by a familiar face. Michael. He looked older, but happier and more at peace than she had ever seen him. Isabella, he greeted her warmly. That was an incredible speech. Congratulations on all your success. They chatted easily, catching up on each other's lives. Michael spoke proudly of his work at the legal aid clinic and his life with Lisa, the colleague he had married 2 years ago. Isabella shared stories of her latest projects and her plans for the future. As they talked, Isabella was struck by how comfortable it felt. Two people who had shared a significant part of their lives, now able to celebrate each other's happiness without regret or bitterness. You know, Michael said, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. I think in a way, we saved each other. Our divorce, as painful as it was, it set us both on paths to becoming who we were meant to be. Isabella nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. We did, didn't we? It wasn't the happily ever after we originally planned, but maybe it was the one we needed. As the evening wound down, Isabella found herself on the balcony of the conference center, looking out over the twinkling lights of New York City. Sarah, who had flown in to support her friend, joined her. Penny for your thoughts? Sarah asked, handing Isabella a glass of champagne. Isabella smiled, taking a sip. I was just thinking about how far we've all come. Me, Michael, you. Life has a funny way of working out, doesn't it? Sarah clinked her glass against Isabella's. That it does, Bella. That it does. As they stood there, two friends who had weathered storms together and come out stronger, Isabella felt a profound sense of contentment. The road ahead was full of possibilities. New projects, new challenges, perhaps even new love. But whatever came her way, she knew she had the strength and resilience to face it head-on. The gentle hum of conversation filled the air as Isabella made her final rounds at the grand opening of Maison Isabella, her new flagship store in the heart of Paris. The space was a perfect reflection of her design philosophy, a seamless blend of Parisian elegance and Chicago boldness, with each piece telling a story of cross-cultural inspiration. As she chatted with guests, graciously accepting compliments and discussing her vision, Isabella caught sight of her reflection in one of the store's large mirrors. The woman looking back at her exuded confidence, creativity, and joy. A far cry from the lost and heartbroken figure she had been just a few years ago. Sarah appeared at her side, beaming with pride. "This is incredible, Izzy. Look at what you've created." Isabella squeezed her friend's hand, overcome with emotion. "We created this, Sarah. I couldn't have done it without you." As the evening drew to a close, Isabella found a quiet moment to slip away to the store's rooftop terrace. The Eiffel Tower glittered in the distance, a reminder of the city that had rekindled her passion and helped shape her new life. Her phone buzzed with a message from Laura. "Wish I could be there, sis. The pictures look amazing. So proud of you." Isabella smiled, typing back a quick thank you. She thought of all the people who had supported her on this journey. Sarah, Laura, her team, and even Michael in his own way. Each had played a part in helping her become the woman she was today. As she looked out over the Parisian skyline, Isabella reflected on the path that had brought her here. The pain of her divorce, once so all-consuming, had faded into a distant memory. In its place was gratitude for the growth and opportunities that had emerged from that difficult time. She thought of the frightened, heartbroken woman she had been, standing alone outside that restaurant in Chicago after Michael's announcement. If she could go back and speak to that version of herself, what would she say? Perhaps she would simply tell her to hold on, to trust in her own strength and resilience, to believe that the end of one chapter could lead to the beginning of an even more beautiful story. The sound of footsteps pulled Isabella from her reverie. Sarah appeared, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "There you are. Come on, Izzy. Everyone's looking for you. It's time for the toast." Isabella took a deep breath, savoring this moment of quiet before rejoining the celebration. "You go ahead. I'll be right there." As Sarah headed back inside, Isabella took one last look at the Parisian night. She thought of her life in Chicago, her growing business in Paris, and all the adventures that still lay ahead. The future stretched out before her, full of possibilities she was now brave enough to explore. With a heart full of gratitude and excitement, Isabella turned to rejoin her guests. This was more than just the opening of a store. It was the culmination of a journey of self-discovery and the beginning of a new chapter. As she raised her glass to make the toast, Isabella felt a profound sense of peace and purpose. She had not just survived the end of her marriage, she had thrived, creating a life more fulfilling than she had ever imagined possible. "To new beginnings," she said, her voice strong and clear. "And to the beautiful things we can create when we have the courage to embrace change." The room erupted in applause, and as Isabella looked around at the smiling faces of friends, colleagues, and supporters, she knew that this was just the beginning. Whatever challenges or opportunities lay ahead, she was ready to face them. Not as someone's wife, but as Isabella Thompson, international designer, entrepreneur, and author of her own extraordinary story. What did you think of Isabella's story? Please leave a comment with your opinion. 2 buttons will appear next to it. One to subscribe, if you haven't already, and another to watch other exciting stories. Make your choice. Thanks for watching this far. See you soon.